Hi everyone, the Lone Wolf here and welcome back to the Sunday recap, my weekly vlog where I talk a bit about my last week in games. And this week was basically only EVE Online. I played a little bit of Dota Underlords, it's a couple games here and there to de-stress, but other than that it's been EVE Online. So let's get started. More of the regular stuff, of course. The exploration, smaller rounds definitely did not go that intensively when it comes to exploration. Basically, once I found a good combat site and I got a good drop, I tended to just go home and do some other stuff like mining. I've actually been mining a little bit more in the Orca, compressing everything, and we're starting to get a nice treasure trove of resources that I'll probably try to sell in Amar when I find the time. I did do a quick trip to Amar with my BPCs as well. Blueprint copies there. I've actually been selling decently well from the batch last week, so I still have to see what they've been doing this week, but it looks like we get some really wild swings all of a sudden, because I mentioned last week that it felt like the combat capital ships like carriers and dreadnoughts were not doing well, but all of a sudden a lot of those shot up in the 20 million range, so I'm not really sure what's happening there, but it looks like we are getting some more selling, and more players, viewers from EVE Talk and things like that also are reporting a slowdown in Jita and actually an increase in activity in Amar and Odixie specifically. I'm still curious what the Minmatar trade hubs are going to do, because their location could actually be pretty interesting as well. But overall, I'm happy with the performance of my BPCs. While I have made some plans to try and diversify a little bit, for now it looks like the capital ships are still doing really well. Structures, they of course are struggling quite substantially, like 2.8, 2.9 million just to get to that bottom range. You still make a little bit of ISK, but it's really not worth it compared to like an Orca BPC or a Freighter BPC or something like that. So that is something that I think I will need to adapt a little bit to the Amar market, and that's probably going to be an ongoing process as well, as the Amar market itself is evolving quite rapidly at the moment. For my PI, just more hoarding. This is really not a great time to do PI or to be super active in PI, to basically have that be your main activity. The changes that CCP has done to the game have basically increased the value and the need for activities in EVE Online, and so that means that mining, ratting, creating stuff, creating ISK actively in the game is all up in cost, and as a result, anything that's really passive like PI tends to be really in a bad spot. And then what's compounding this is of course that CCP has now also announced the dynamic system for bounty payments from nullsec that should decrease the amount of ISK available, and all of that is of course hitting that passive market the most. So for now, I'm hoarding a lot of that stuff, and we will see. Perhaps at some point we will get a resurgence. Maybe CCP can do something on the demand side for PI with new structures, with other stuff coming to the game. We never know, but it is definitely not a good time to try and make a lot of ISK from PI at the moment. And then of course we also have a mass test that we joined. There's going to be another one next week, by the way, so if you want to have a chance to blow me up, then join that mass test and join Fleet X. I'll be making my way to Fleet W as I generally do, and I should be there as well for the next mass test, 1700 EVE time on CC on Tuesday if I'm not mistaken. So definitely something that's going to be interesting. CCP is planning to make that one like a little bit bigger. Fly anything you want, just go nuts and have lots of recloning happening with the new super carrier mechanic. It worked quite well last time, so I think that CCP now has the confidence to try that in a more trying mass test with tie-dye and things like that. Should be interesting. I definitely look forward to that. And then we have the Crimson Harvest. I actually have done a couple of sites at this point. They are not that easy. Specifically the Crimson Gauntlet, in my experience, is pretty tough because those guys really don't like drones at all. They go after them like crazy, and so at the moment the ship that's doing it the most comfortably is actually my conduit running Rattlesnake with a little bit of change to resistances. That one seems to be blowing through that content quite comfortably. The tank never gets into any real trouble, and the missiles themselves do a lot of work against those cruisers and those battle cruisers cruisers. So yeah, some videos on that coming, of course, but not something that you want to do in like a small jackdaw or something like that. You need a decently good tank. There's quite a bit of capacitor warfare there as well, so active tank is actually quite risky in some of those situations, and there's a couple of scrammers in there as well, so be careful, know what you're doing, because some people may really be losing their ships to some of these combinations. But it's pretty fun and decently rewarding as well. Got a couple of skins, we have those boosters of course to get even more skill points, which is not good for the skill injector investment that I've made, but all in all this is actually a pretty good event. And what I like is that it's something that you can do in a pimped out battleship, which for Highsec is something that's really missing since the emerging conduits have basically gone away at this point throughout Highsec. There's really not a lot to do outside of missions for battleships, so this is great content to fill that niche, and I'm actually enjoying it quite a little bit. And I would say that that was my last week in games, mostly spent in EVE Online. I'm actually having a lot of fun with all the different activities that there are to do there at the moment, as I've said, with the testing on CC, with the Crimson Harvest event at the moment, and then just, you know, trying to find out what the hell is going to happen to all of the trade hubs. That's it for me this week, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time.